In the warming sun of late spring, a mother rests after giving birth. Her new daughter is only 6 hours old. But their rest will be brief, for they belong to a troop of the northernmost monkeys on Earth, always on the move through the temperate forest that is their home. Both the lives of the macaques and the trees that they live with are ruled by the timing and the changing of the seasons of the temperate world. Much of Asia is covered by the temperate forests that stretch from the foothills of the Himalaya to the islands of Japan. These forests lie in a broad band between the frozen wastes of the Arctic and the humid tropical forests far to the south. There are two kinds of temperate forests, those that remain evergreen and the deciduous forests where the changing seasons are clearly seen. As the earth swings closer to the sun and then away again, the plants and the animals of the temperate forests are exposed to all the climate's extremes. Long ago, when much of the world was frozen in the winter of the last ice age, many trees became extinct. But some of Eastern Asia escaped this ice, and there the temperate forests now contain a greater number of tree species than in the rest of the continent. In Japan, these forests still cover vast areas of her mountains. Forests of cherry and maple, of oak and beech are driven by the seasons, and trees must evolve strategies for survival. In northern Japan, beech trees dominate the forest. They've evolved a strategy of living long, growing taller than the other trees, and reacting quickly to the lengthening days of spring. Beech trees are amongst the earliest to bud, amongst the first to flower, to be pollinated by the wind, and the first to send out leaves to claim the energy-giving light before it reaches the forest floor. But rather than trying to compete for light against the taller trees, one extraordinary plant steals a march on the rest of the forest by following a timetable of its own. The few Japanese who know this plant call it naniwazu. Instead of shedding its leaves in autumn, naniwazu keeps them green. They're ready as soon as spring comes to take in sunlight while the canopy overhead is still open. Its precocious flowers attract the first pollen-bearing insects of the season. By breaking the rules of the seasons, naniwazu knows its own summer, while other plants have just begun to grow their spring leaves. All through the forest, trees are exploding into flower. After the long winter months, spring is a time when Japanese macaques make the most of the forest's bounty. Macaques are perhaps the most adaptable of all monkeys. They've colonized many parts of Asia, from the tropics to the temperate forests, adapting and changing as they went. They first arrived in Japan perhaps 500,000 years ago. Japanese macaques live in troops and move within a defined territory. There are 35 animals in this troop, made up of a handful of males and 2 family groups of related females, each led by an older matriarch. This female is about 26 years old. Her knowledge of the forest has been vital, not only for her immediate family, but for the troop as a whole. Japanese macaques are different from other macaques. They're less inclined to squabble than their cousins who live in tropical forests. These macaques are mainly vegetarian, but edible plants are widely scattered throughout the forest. To get enough to eat, the troop must continually move through its territory. What's even more unusual is the degree of tolerance between the male macaques. Ito, at 16 years old, is unchallenged as the senior male of the troop, even though he lost one of his legs in a trap when he was young. He usually stays on the fringes of the family groups, constantly watching. The family group is the very heart of macaque society, and once a female is born into a group, she will never leave. Young males, however, will leave when they're around 5 years old. They will roam the forest, either living a solitary life or in small bachelor groups, before attempting to join another troop with females. In this troop, as well as Ito, there are 2 other big males. Konzui is 15. Like Ito, he never takes his eyes off the females. And on the very fringes of the troop is another male who has recently joined the group. Only 11 years old, he always keeps his distance, but is a member of the troop, accepted within their territory. The ancestors of these macaques arrived in Japan's far north at the end of the most recent ice age. As the earth warmed, macaques moved further and further north into new territories. The northern shores of Japan's main island of Honshu are as far north as any macaque can go. They will not return to the south, since their territory adjoins that of other macaque troops. These northernmost monkeys on Earth have had no choice but to adapt to the seasonal extremes of the temperate forest where they live. Spring comes late to the north of Japan. To find food, the macaques must move every day. But when the air temperature drops below freezing, they try to move as little as possible. At these temperatures, the snow will cling to their hands and feet, draining even more of their body heat away. Drawing on her memory and knowledge of the forest, an old female knows the way to a new feeding site. The rest of the troop share her knowledge. Ito is content to bring up the rear, closely followed by a young male, keen to learn from his age and experience. Once they arrive at a feeding site, they all climb into the trees away from the cold of the clinging snow. Only in winter do they sit this close for a prolonged period. Even though temperatures are still well below freezing, the sun is once again climbing higher into the sky, and the days are beginning to lengthen. The squirrels' autumn preparations have paid off. During the few hours that they're active each morning, they search for the remaining walnuts they buried before the snows came. Guided first by memory and then by a keen sense of smell, a squirrel retrieves a walnut and takes it to the safety of a tree to eat. It can take as long as 30 minutes to crack open a nut, but the prize is worth the effort. Forest birds have also remained active throughout the winter, and while pickings may be lean, nothing goes to waste. A freezing mist rises into the morning air, and as the days continue to lengthen, some trees begin to pump sap. But the air temperature is still many degrees below freezing, cold enough for icicles to form. Where maple branches have broken in a storm, icicles of sweet sap take shape, creating a tempting delicacy for small birds. Each icicle may last only a few days. The rising temperatures mean that even as a Japanese white-eye licks at it, the frozen delicacy is already melting. Throughout the forest, winter begins to lose its grip. But this interval between seasons is still dangerous for the trees. Their soft new shoots are moist and vulnerable. A sudden frost or freezing snowstorm could easily kill them, and the tree's long preparation for spring would be wasted. Gradually across the forest, the thaw takes hold. Insects are returning, and with them, their predators. The melting snows reveal Nani-Wazu, ready to greet the returning sun. Following its own unique seasonal cycle, its flowers are already waiting to be pollinated. Its leaves are absorbing sunlight before the canopy again closes over. In the rhythm of the forest and the seasons, Nani-Wazu dances to its own beat. The late winter sun warms the trunks of the beeches, and with the dripping meltwater, there's bare earth at the base of the trees. And tiny spring ephemerals take their one chance to bloom. Like the strange Nani-Wazu, they can only compete by staying a step ahead of their rivals. The melting snow reveals more and more leaf litter. Deep in the litter, curled like a ball, the dormouse has spent the 5 months of winter in a sleep which is close to death. Its body temperature has remained almost at freezing. It has breathed only 4 or 5 times an hour. As warmth returns, it stirs and begins to wake. It shivers to regain body warmth. Its heartbeat increases from its resting rate of 50 beats a minute to 500. It has survived on the reserves of fat from the previous autumn, but has lost much of its body weight. With a metabolic rate so fast, it must eat or die. As soon as it wakes, it returns to a forest that is exploding with color and life. With the orchestrated precision of a symphony, the forest reacts to spring. Dogtooth violets bloom just in time to attract their pollinator, a butterfly which the Japanese call the goddess of spring. Unlike the butterfly of summer, the spring goddess feasts on nectar, distributing pollen as it flies from one flower to the next. All the macaques of the troop have survived winter, and more will be born this spring. For the juveniles, it's time once again to play. The seasons of the temperate world have completed another cycle. Once again, there is plenty of food. The firstborn baby of last spring has lived the first 4 seasons of her life. As she grows, she will never cease learning about her forest from her mother and family. One day she too will choose a mate and give birth. She may grow to become the matriarch of a family group, using her knowledge and experience to guide future generations through the changing seasons of the forest, as the forest, in its turn, follows the ancient rhythms of Asia's temperate world.